Hello, hello. I am live. Hi everyone. Always gotta check myself out. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. We are back with our first episode of 2023 for We Need Each Other podcast. Tonight's episode is going to be super, super special. Hello, hello. Okay, Josh is on. Let me get him on. Let's see. Invite. Here we go. Send it over. Invite. Okay. I know if you got the invite, Josh. There we go. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Let's see. Okay, accept. Let me know if you got it. Alrighty. New Year. 1 second. All right, I just sent you the invite again. Come on, Instagram. Don't be acting up in the new year, Instagram. All right. Are you getting my invite, Josh? I did. It says invite to join. Okay. I'm going to send it one more time. How is everyone doing? How are you guys feeling? It's the new year. I'm really, really, really excited for 2023 and everything that's in store. Let's see. To be in your live view request. Go live. There we go. Okay, I hit it and it's not going live. Let's see. There we go.
Big drum roll. Big drum roll.
Hello. Happy New Year. Yeah. I was like, is Instagram acting brand new because it's 2023? Like, what's going on here? Like, we don't do this. What's going on? What's going on?
We here. Yo, you look awesome as usual.
Thank you. Likewise. How you feeling? How's ATL treating you?
Yo, I'm looking to relocate sometime soon. I'm about to say peace to New York.
Look at that alignment. Our very special guest tonight. She's also an ATL.
Hey, shorty. Hey, shorty. Hey.
How you doing? How is your 2023 so far? We're what, 12 days in? Yo, how you feeling?
Powerful. That's one word I can use to describe it. Powerful. There's a certain momentum that we've created going into this year that we carried into 2023, and it just seems to be compiling. I'm having the conversations I need to have. I'm meeting the people I need to meet, and there's a momentum I want to keep on going.
That's right.
So how's yours stacking up so far?
Unstoppable. I feel like I've been on a roll, like back to back, and I love it. I feel like I'm on top and nothing can bring me down. Like nothing or no one can bring me down, you know. Like you mentioned on our last episode, you know, we're coming into the new year on this high, but we also have to keep in mind that we are going to go through hurdles and trials and tribulations, but just keeping that faith and that mentality, like no matter what, I'm going to get through whatever I'm dealing with. That's what's really going to help us reach our goals. But 12 days into the new year, that I am amazing. You know, sticking to my morning routine, sticking down to journaling, writing down my goals, and just taking it day by day. That's all we can do, right?
Amen. Yeah, I'm so grateful for this platform right here. Going into this year, I've gotten a lot of good feedback about We Need Each Other podcast. And today my brother contacted me. He said, yo, man, I was watching some of y'all stuff, and he actually quoted something you said. I believe it was one when we was talking about the relationship with your mom. He was like, listen, brother, so as y'all be talking, do you have like a circle that y'all go to? Where do you get your information to come to the podcast with? And for me, it was awesome. One, because he connected with the vibe. It let me know that what we're saying is valuable, and it's what the community needs. And more people are tapping in. So this show today is no exception to being something that the community needs, an example of why we are here and why we need each other. And I'm just grateful for this platform. So
Yes, especially for our community, right? It's so funny because you mentioned that, and I've gotten that feedback too. I've gotten people first of all, congratulating us of how amazing we're doing, and just for taking the first step in launching our podcast, right? So many people have had this idea to launch a podcast, launch a business, write a book, but the fear is always holding them back. And they're walking in fear, not walking in faith. And that's our difference. That's the difference between us and other people. We walk in faith. And, you know, it was like one conversation. But the conversation was like 2-hour conversation. And we're like, you know what, we're starting a podcast. And we did it the following week. And that's what you have to do. And a lot of people have told me the same thing. Like, where do you guys get your information? I'm like, first of all, our brain. Okay, like, we are smart people. Don't be trying to play us. And God, like, literally, like, and also too, we speak from experience. You know, we keep it real and we keep it honest and raw. This is why we call each other the internet's most intimate podcast, because we are showing up as us. Like, there's nothing to hide. We all go through stuff, no matter your career, no matter your title, no matter your money, nothing. We all go through stuff, and just showing up and being real is it's a huge advantage for us, and it's what's helping us and what will continue to help us on our podcast moving forward. So I'm really excited, especially for tonight's topic.
I'm telling
you. Want to introduce it?
Yeah. So just kind of put it first, why perspective is so important. Just people sharing their perspective. Sometimes it's not from a point of expertise. Sometimes it's simply from a point of experience. And with the podcast, it allows me to kind of learn and really dive in and research certain things. So this one, initially, when you had mentioned it, I knew it was something that was needed. But as I started to research it more and more, I realized how much it was needed. And I started having conversations with my mom and my aunt and different women in my family. But the huge thing is, basically, when people give birth or take it into the pregnancy, you have a lot of support. People are happy that you're pregnant. You go into giving birth, but after the birth, there's a whole nother process. There's a whole nother conversation that's sometimes not even talked about. This conversation is not even normalized. So we're going to have a great talk about postpartum depression, or just postpartum in general, in terms of what happens after the baby comes, what kind of changes are happening in the mental and the physical. And literally for the past 24 hours, I've been submerging myself in TED Talks and researching different things. And I didn't realize first how much this conversation is not normalized, how much it is needed, and the importance of it to me as a man. So we think about it from the woman's perspective also, but understanding what does that mean to me as a man, being the counterpart, being the husband, or being the father. So let's talk about it.
Absolutely. Especially too, like, as a woman, like, I haven't given birth yet. I haven't had a child yet, but I'm surrounded by women and, you know, girl talk. And I've always heard postpartum from the female perspective, right? But I can only imagine what the men go through, you know. You're now dealing with a whole brand new woman. You know, her emotions are everywhere, her mental state of mind, her body's changing. You know, she's not the same woman physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, you have to really step up and be that partner and be that parent, and not only navigate parenthood with her, but also her mental health is also important. So I'm really, really excited to touch on postpartum and the transition of couples going from just a couple, right? Like, date night and something as simple as, let's pick up and just go to the movies. Let's go shopping. Want a baby in the picture? You can't do that. Something as simple as getting gas. Like, I can imagine a single mom or a single dad getting to the gas station trying to pump gas, but you have a car seat in the back. That's a whole nother process than just getting off and pumping gas. Now you got to get off, unstrap the car seat, bring them down, especially if it's cold. It's a lot. But we have the perfect person for this topic. And I am, excuse me, sorry, getting sick. And I am very, very excited to introduce our special guest. And I'm super grateful for the internet, because this is how I met her. And she is just amazing. Are you ready?
We're going to bring in the ready? All right. Well, without further ado, why wait? First, I am happy
excuse me, sorry,
to have her on here. Before she even comes, I just want to say I'm happy to have her on. I'm going to tell her that when she comes, but also the bravery and also the transparency that just putting herself out there to kind of teach others, because this is something that should be normalized and should be talked about on a regular basis, because this is life. Everyone either is a mother has a mother or knows a mother. And that's why this conversation is so important.
Oh, that's a good one. Did you practice that? That was good.
No, that was from a TED Talk. That was from my TED Talk.
All right, everyone, help us welcoming our special guest. I'm going to send the invite. Here you go. Ready? Let me know when you got it.
Hold on.
Wait, drum roll. Wait a minute. Drum roll.
Good evening.
Just give a quick introduction. Give a quick introduction really quick, Kayla.
Huh?
Give a quick introduction really quick.
Guys, Instagram, family, and friends, please help us welcome the amazing, talented, beautiful Miss Jamie.
Hey, guys. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Listen, I have been over here cracking up. Your A shouty. So,
mind you, he's from the Bronx. He's from the Bronx.
Isn't it supposed to be shorty up there, right?
Yeah, I'm a transplant. I'm really little by little. I've been spending more and more time here. My mom moved down here. My dad's down here. My aunt's down here. So little by little, I'm definitely you're gonna see me soon here. So it's good to have you up here.
Come on.
My sister.
Welcome to the South. I was in New York in November, and you can very much tell I do not sound like I'm from the North. Very much so a Southern gal.
It's a pleasure to have you. First, I said it real quick when you was off air, but first, thank you for coming and giving your perspective.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, in researching this, I realized, well, first I knew it was an important topic, but in researching, I realized how important it was, how it wasn't only relevant to women, but the men in their life, and how normalized this conversation should be had. Because some people would go around, and some people don't even know they're experiencing it as they're going through it. Some people may think they're crazy, but when you have this conversation and you share your perspective, people can understand it's something that we should deal with as a community.
Yeah, you actually said something that I was going to comment on. I was telling someone that I was going to do this podcast and talk about the male and the female perspective. And that person, what do men go through? Like, they don't go through part, but they definitely go through a huge transition, like you said, Kayla, it's such a shift in everyone's life. So yes, the woman does the physical part and hormones are everywhere, but there's a different woman on the other side of that. And it takes months before you start like feeling those little aspects of self start coming back around.
Wow.
Good question. How normal was it for you prior to even experiencing it? Did you even know what it was prior to actually experiencing it? Was it something that was normalized for you?
Postpartum depression?
Yes.
I have had bouts with depression in my life. So in talking to my first OB, she was like, if you have had depression in the past, that may make you more subject to having postpartum depression. But actually, I got pregnant in California, moved to Georgia at 34 weeks, delivered here in Georgia.
Wow. And
then 7 weeks after having a C-section and my first child, we moved to Illinois in October at the beginning of a brutal winter with no friends, no family, no network, no outlets. It's like sub-freezing with a 3-month-old. You can't get out. So honestly, I think that compounded my postpartum depression, add in seasonal affective disorder. I had just left Los Angeles, which has perfect weather all the time, except for the rain they're experiencing, and palm trees and sun and outside. And prior to getting pregnant, I go hiking when I want, or I just go downstairs and get food and all that. And then had a baby, a C-section, a traumatic delivery, because I wasn't expecting a C-section. I went into that hospital thinking that I'm going to deliver naturally, and it wasn't such. And so had an emergent C-section. 7 weeks later, took a 2-day trip up to Illinois. My mom stayed 1 week, and then it was on my own. And it was a ton of bricks. Like, go ahead.
And this was with your first baby. So everything brand new.
This was brand new. This was 2018. Yes, that was my first pregnancy, my first child. I'm 7 months postpartum now. So I have a second daughter. And I can tell you, having a support system, a different climate, a place where you have a friendly face that you can reach out to, made a world of difference. Also, a scheduled C-section in the summer, not the winter. Just like so many dynamics were time around that I have had blue days, because your hormones are still, even at 7 months, your hormones are still all over the board, right? And I am nursing, so that makes them out of whack too. But just all the things that lined up differently has made this such a different process the second time around. But I had some low moments in Illinois.
Wow, wow. I love this conversation because it gave me an opportunity to talk to a lot of the women in my family, and to kind of really just listen and kind of just, I started asking questions about what were their experiencing like. And I realized it looks different for everyone. You know, my mom's story is different than my aunt's. My aunt's story is different from some of the women on the internet. So to hear your story is awesome. And thanks for sharing.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Keila.
No, I was gonna say, this is such a definitely need a topic conversation, especially in our community, right? Like, I feel like depression is one thing, but postpartum depression is a whole nother monster. And a lot of times it's like, oh, you're fine, or get over it, or girl, this is motherhood. Like, you know, pick up and you just keep it going. You know, you got to wear your strong hat. And when we were talking about this discussion, I'm like, I have the perfect person. Like, it has to be Jamie. Like, I know her story is going to be so inspiring. So if you don't mind, like, taking us back from the beginning, like, how was it, even as something as simple as date night with just you and your husband before welcoming your first baby girl and all that?
Okay. So we lived in Atlanta before we moved to Los Angeles, and we lived pretty much in the city, like one exit away from the middle of the city. And I mean, you could just get up and go. When you don't have a dependent like that, you can just get up and go. I used to go for 5-mile runs when that was a thing, because that's not a thing now. But just the ability to sleep in, the ability to go meet someone at like 9 o'clock if you wanted to. Literally scheduling now is like a month or two out. It's hard. So from Georgia, we moved to Los Angeles, and that was like really the peak of us. We got married in 2015. We moved to LA in 2016. So getting to know each other in the husband and wife aspect was in Los Angeles, where, like I said, you can go hiking, you can go out to the beach. Like we would literally go to Santa Monica on a Tuesday night, have dinner at a restaurant that overlooked the Pacific. Freaking amazing, right? Worked out, had friends, all that. Got pregnant in 2017. And then it was right up into the 8th month, he got a job that took us to Illinois. And because we didn't have a place, I came back home where my mom and dad are here, my sister, all that, and delivered here. Ended up having a C-section. So I had to help for 7 weeks and then moved. But yeah, you lose that freedom a lot. And going to a place where we didn't have a network, there was no date night. I think we moved in October. We had our first date night in February of 2019. So, and that was because my mom was in town, and we went and stayed at a hotel. That was like the first time we had some us time. And I will tell you, it took us almost 2 years to find our dynamic again as like husband and wife. Because you immediately move into this role of mom and dad. And if it's your first time, this is so new for you, right? Like you had you two, and then now all the attention goes here, and it's very easy to neglect the YouTube part. And that hit us really hard. And I feel like it took almost 2 years for us to find that groove again.
Wow.
Yeah. That was after the first one. This second one, I was like, well, we're going to dinner. Leave that baby with you.
Right. You're like, it's the second round. We've been here. Come on now. We know what to do now.
And it was actually, you were saying at the beginning that a lot of effort is not given to this. They call it the fourth trimester, right? A lot of literature goes into the whole pregnancy part, like what to expect. You're reading book after book. You're listening to all the YouTube stuff. And then it's like a cliff event afterward. Because no one wants to scare a new mom. No one wants to tell you that your hair fall out and that you get 90 minutes of sleep a night and that you know, sleep deprivation brings its own set of things. You hear about moms who have hallucinations. You know, when you're sleep deprived, your mind starts to slip a lot of loss of self. You're like literally giving your body over. You house a human, you birth a human, you either cut or you might stretch, you might tear. You might have had like nice 6-pack abs the first time. This second pregnancy, my middle abdominal muscles tore. So diastasis recti here. Pelvic floor damage, can't hold your pee after. There's just so much that goes into it. I know you asked me about the man and the woman, and I got all on
No. We need to hear this. In research, I saw they were saying the sleep deprivation that plays a critical part in how intense it can be, and even after giving birth, having to return back to work very soon. So in terms of after you give birth, returning, I don't know what you do for a living, but did you have to return back after that?
I should have started with this. I am a licensed therapist here in Georgia, actually. And you started talking about the depression, I kind of knew what I was looking for too. Like, because I have personally had bouts of it, and just knowing signs to look for, like not wanting to get out of the bed in the morning, and the only thing that gets you up is a crying baby in the other room, because that's the thing for themselves. Crying in the shower, not liking what you see in the mirror. And I know, you know what, there's so much literature out there. It's like, have grace, love yourself, self-love. You just had a baby, and everyone will remind you that you just had a baby, like you weren't laid up in the hospital and had the baby. But it's really hard to look at that different self in the mirror. So being a therapist, I started noticing my own signs, being very down, detaching. I'm a very sociable person. And it's like since 2018, I kind of know that I went so inward, right? And I'm still trying to find aspects of self, even after the second one. But I can tell you at the age of 38, going through sleep deprivation is so different. So I'm saying I had my first child at 33, my second one at 37. And even at 33, you're no spring chicken. So losing a lot of sleep is a hard thing. But now I'm 2 years away from 40, and I'm like, sleep plays a major part. Sleep plays a major part. And it's just the season. You know, at some point you're going to blink, and they're going to be like 5 years. Oh my gosh, what happened? But right now, I won't sleep. We went to Jamaica for New Year's, and I slept like 8.5 hours one night. It's
like, yes. Talking about sleep too, I can only imagine, right? Like that may cause friction and argument with you and your partner, because it's like, nah, I got up the last 3 nights. It's your turn. You know?
Yep. If you've got someone in bed with you, y'all start to play a little game after a while. It's like, I know you heard that baby. But then, like, and you wait to see which one gonna get up first.
But I know you're not snoring.
It can be a point of contention, but I will tell you, Marquise, that's my husband, and I, we just started in December. 1 night a week, one person will sleep in the guest bedroom, and the other person will tend to the children. Because my 4-year-old still gets up from time to time. She don't like sleep for some reason. But she'll get up sometimes, and the baby is in our room. So whoever stays in the room, they hold it down so the other person can get uninterrupted sleep. And we pick 1 night a week, and we flop out. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how much that one night helps. You wake up, and you like, I'm refreshed. I'm a new person. Because you didn't get up multiple times throughout the night.
That's a beautiful thing. Preparation. You got to actually be prepared. One thing, when I was talking to Kayla earlier today, and we was kind of conversing about it a little bit, how I think it's important to say how foundational it is having a good relationship or a great support system is, even going into it or during it. And that makes me want to actually focus on becoming a better man, being more patient, because I'm going to have to be there to assist this woman who's going through these things and all that. And even though all these stories were so different from all the women I talked about, one thing that was a commonality was the support system. How important the support system was. I want you to just speak about that real quick. How important the support system before giving birth and after.
It is very, it's very important. If you have a partner at home, I think that conversations, well, especially the first time around, because, you know, you don't know what to expect, right? Conversations or even a simple book or Google research about how to help a new mom after giving birth can go so far. Things like giving them a moment to take a shower, bring food, giving them chances to take a nap, encouraging them to go outside and get some fresh air.
Wow.
When I was in Illinois, my best friend Danielle was like, paint your toenails and your fingernails bright colors, just something to lighten the gray winter. And she was like, even if it's 20 degrees outside, leave the baby inside, you go let the sun hit your face. Encourage like that. If you are, I know we're in the times of COVID, so it's hard to visit someone, but especially if they have a new child, but sending food. This time around here in Atlanta, a lot of people Uber Eats us dinner. I had a friend who prepared a week's worth of dinner. She dropped it off.
Wow.
Stuff that helps a lot. And then our familial base, my mom has been here. Now, I didn't have this the first time around because I was not working. I didn't start working again. You asked me that. I didn't start working again the first time around until 18 months in. So every day it was me and Savannah kicking it on that tummy time, going through salads and purees, like that. Second time around, I started back working at 10 weeks. And I had a lot of guilt about that. I work from home. This is my spot right here where I'm at right now. And my mom comes 2 to 3 times a week, and she'll sit with baby Riley and help her throughout the day. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. That's a huge support too. We're going to have to put her in daycare going into this year. But for the last 7 months, she's been here throughout the week. And then in the beginning, she stayed through the nights. So the morning would come and she said, give me the baby, and I would get to sleep 3 more hours, something like that. Just those type of things. Or if you get a chance to have the ability to get out and meeting up with girlfriends, because you're looking for those little snippets of normalcy, like especially this time, even the subsequent times, your world gets flipped upside down, right? Like one day you're like, oh, just this aching belly, and then the newborn is like teasing you at night when they come home. So everything flipped upside down. You find that you don't get to brush your teeth. You find that you don't get to take a shower some days. Like, it's brutal. It gets brutal. It gets brutal. And just, I have a cousin in California, and in 2018, we both had babies 6 months apart. And so when she delivered, I was still pregnant with my first baby. And we were only an hour, 15 minutes apart. And there were times I would leave my house at 6 in the morning to get there in the morning, sit with her for an hour. She could shower, she could sleep, go on errands if she wanted. And then I go home. And I go back home. I had a friend last month in December. She came and sat with me for about 4 hours. She said, go clean up, go shop, do what you need to do. I will sit here with the sleeping baby. Those things help a lot.
That support is real.
The support is real. And then conversations, just conversations. It helps to be able to express what you need. Because, you know, we as people, we struggle with being able to ask for help. That's great. I don't know how to ask. Like, I struggle with knowing how to ask. I can tell people all day long on virtual therapy sessions, this is how you should do it. But when it comes to me, that's one of my toxic traits. I don't know how to ask at times. And then struggling to know when, how. And so if you think of a new mom or even a season with a new dad, I don't want to leave dads out, because being able to go hang out with the fellas, or, you know, someone to get out of the house, or if, you know, Marquise can just go out, run errands, he gets a break too. Like, I have a busy Saturday coming up at the end of this month. I'm going to take the girls to my mom's house so it doesn't tie him down just for hours, you know? Like, trying to be cognizant of what the other person needs, but it's help a lot.
I love that. I love that you guys think of a plan ahead. So you take care of your mental, but also of his, and vice versa. Like, that's really needed. I know that you mentioned it happens so fast, right? You get pregnant, you give birth, and then you're in the hospital. What, some people are in the hospital for 3 days, I think. If it's a C-section, a little bit longer. But then you're sent home with this brand new human. It's like, what do you do? So before having your first baby, did you think about like a routine that you were gonna set in place with your husband, or it was just, nope, we're just gonna take her home and take it day by day? How did you figure that?
So I took her home to my mom's house in Atlanta, where it was, I mean, mama would get up in the night. I remember the first time she told me stay in bed, I'll get a baby. I thought the angels had come down from heaven. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I can stay in bed. So I did that for 6-7 weeks and then went to Illinois. And at that time, Marquise worked a lot. So he would leave for weekends or leave for a week. And it was really hard to establish a routine. The first segment of us being in Illinois, if he was gone for an extended time, someone would fly up. So my sister came, his parents came twice, my mom and dad came. Then COVID hit. And the job he had, after the initial wave, he still had to travel. So then it would be like a week where it was just me and the kid again. Wow. It was, after we got to Illinois, it became more routine, bath time, bedtime, feeding, all that. But like the first 2 to 3 months were so hard to establish something. I do not recommend doing all the major life changes at one time. Don't move across the country while pregnant. Have a baby and move 7 weeks later. Like, don't do all the major stuff at one time because it's stressful.
I went for it all. Yeah, I went for it all.
We went for it all. Let's get me. So it was harder to do that on the first go. And then you move to an unfamiliar place. And like I said, there was no outlets. No outlets. We were in a suburb on the west side of Chicago, 45 minutes from the city. So people be like, how's Chicago? I'll be like, I don't know. It's down the street. But not even having the ability to be like, oh, I want to go work out every day at 8 or something, because it was always a toss-up. The second time around has been so much more routine. And I think that helped my mental health so much better this time around. Like I said, knowing what I went through the first time, it was like low. This time it has some lows, it dips. There's this, they talk about postpartum depression, and then there's baby blues. The baby blues feel like those things that ebb and flow. Someday you wake up and you're like, I'm just sad. I don't really know how to name it. Because like I said, your hormones are still all over the place. First time around, I don't think I felt like myself or started feeling like myself until 8 months in. Wow. 8 months. And then by a year, I feel like, I feel like Jamie again. Wow. And that was on the low side. Here I am 7 months, and I still have days where I'm like, I don't know. I struggle with my sense of self sometimes.
Yeah. I was going to go into something I was saying. First of all, I'm acknowledging all the comments. The women who are saying, wow, I go through this too. And I see people even detailing their experiences. So once again, this conversation needed to be normalized. It's beautiful. Even me being a male, just taking this in and just listening. And it's really doing me some good. In my research, I was saying that postpartum, sometimes it can be right after birth or even up to like a year after. So it's just different people. So right now, currently, I want to talk about your mental state right now. How are you feeling right now, 8 months after giving birth?
I would say 5 out of 7 days, great. And I do have days where I'm like, I struggle with what I see in the mirror. I'm just going to keep it honest. Again, you get nervous about saying stuff like that because people go down that love your body. Right. You went through a lot. And then you feel guilty for admitting that I don't necessarily love everything I see right now. So you kind of keep it inside. And so conversations like this are needed for folks to feel like I'm not alone in that aspect, right? My biggest challenge right now is the sleep deprivation. Okay. prior to getting pregnant in 2017, I was a champion sleeper. You know what I'm saying? Sleep, oh, it was great. And so my sleep woes started the first pregnancy at 10 weeks. So I struggled all the way through her turning 4 and then getting ready to have the next child. Because like I said, she was up and down. When we moved back to Atlanta, my first child had a tough turn. And so she would get up every night, sometimes multiple times a night. Then I got pregnant, and so here we are doing it again. Sleep deprivation is the hardest thing for me. Okay. And when you don't get enough sleep, you're more irritable, a little more snappy. You, in the whole trying to lose weight after pregnancy, messes with that because you know you don't have time to recoup and renew and all of that. God bless my clients. I love them. Sometimes I don't sessions, and I'm like, have grace for me. I got a newborn at home. I'm sleepy.
Take it easy.
I'm sleepy.
I love it.
The sleep deprivation, I would say, is the toughest thing for me right now. I find joy in nature. So even if I just go outside in the garage, I try to get out there and get some fresh air. I am starting to move a little more in the workout department because I had a lot of pelvic floor damage this time around. And like I said, my abdominal muscle split. So moving has had its own restrictions and challenges this time. And for me, that's a heavy mental health outlet for me. Fitness is like where I can check out and go. So having to slowly navigate back into that has messed with my mind. Let's see. Those are the biggest things. Like I said, the support system has come through this second time. And not to the fault of anybody the first time. I mean, we were just away, and then the pandemic hit. So,
well,
yeah.
you're away, and I can only imagine not having anyone, just your phone, right? Like, but there's only so much you can FaceTime, and only so much you can be on Zoom calls, right? What other tools or resources did you use to help you during that time? And it was just you and your baby girl.
At that time, I was really active in this community called Beachbody, which is a fitness community. And so we would show up a lot on IG. I had a team at the time, so we did weekly meetings. We had a virtual book club during the pandemic. We would drink wine and kiki. Those were heavy outlets for me because it was like the ability to connect but not be with people. And then that's when I found there was a street that we lived off of. So from our door down the street and back was 2 miles round trip. And I would get out on my lunch break running out there just to be outside, just to have that moment of reprieve. I tried, getting back into running at the time. Things,
little by little, by little.
And I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta. Our Founders Day is on Monday. And I was getting ready to join a chapter up there literally the month before the pandemic hit.
Wow.
That was about to be an outlet, and then that ended. But you have to create it, man. I spend extra time in the bathroom. I love a good long shower. This during the pandemic, I started with skincare, but it's become like a go-to for me in this last year. Just really creating those things that give you the ability to check out some. Yeah.
Awesome. Right. First, what I'm gathering, right? I know back in the days at one point, women actually gave their life to give childbirth. Some people literally on the table, they lost their life. Yeah. So I'm hearing all these changes that women are going through. And first, I'm just honoring y'all, just in awe, like, wow, you literally sacrificed your body, your emotional health, and all these different things. So us being a man, there is a change, but we have to acknowledge what you guys go through first. Second, I want to acknowledge your partner, Marquise. Did I get his name correct? Mm-hmm. Yes, shout out to him, because I know there was some things that he went through.
Yeah.
So what was maybe some of the biggest things that he went through while he was going through, like in terms of adjustment? I know you said a lot of things that you did to adjust, but if you can speak on behalf of him, what were some of the things you would think one of his biggest adjustments was?
First thing I want to speak to is maternal loss is still so prevalent.
Say that. Talk about it.
And there is still so many conversations that need to be had, so many research things that need to be turned about to stop this. But maternity is still very prevalent in the Black community. And we need to do more to get on top of that. So pinning that, Marquise, he poured into fitness because, like I said, we were raising our first one during the pandemic. So a lot of time started becoming present on our hands. He really poured into fitness. He's into college football a lot. So starting at the end of August until, you know, like the national championship in January, all Saturdays are his. And I let him have it. He be from the sun up to the sundown, then on the tablet after that, and I let him have it. This time around, I got him one of those virtual reality things for Christmas because I want him to get back into what feels like him. Go have when we move back to Atlanta, he has some guy friends that he would go connect with. And in Illinois, he actually returned to a job he had been before when we were not together. We got married, Atlanta, California. This job, he went back to Illinois, was somewhere he was before, so he had a friend base there. Like his boss is one of his mentors. So there was people he had in Illinois, and he would go to work. And I mean, you know, your work friends ain't always your best friends, but that was an outlet for him. And they would take work trips together and stuff. So he had actually the ability to get out more and interact with people more. I think he went on a guy's trip. So it's important. People often think the woman does most of the work. And, you know, physically they do. Our bodies go through a lot. Our mental health goes through a lot and all that. And then sometimes men are just lost in the sauce. Like, you know, everybody's like, oh, how's the baby first? Then they're like, oh, yeah, you had the baby. How you doing? Do you know, see people ask how the man's doing and how's he getting through? Because I don't believe, even though we do this one night a week, this is just new because we need sleep and we're old now. But I have heard people say, like, my husband works, I sleep in the room with the baby every night, he sleeps in a different room. I'm like, no, both of y'all made this baby. Right. Like, you got to go through this together. So everybody is affected. And then you said something at the beginning, like, you have this woman and you guys are doing everything together, and then she, you know, come out looking like she'd have been in a tornado afterward, and she's not always her. So they have to deal with that too, and they're trying to navigate this change in their relationship, change in the woman prior to, you know, giving birth to this baby. And I don't think they always get their fair just in it. Like, you know, men are just, they are supporting roles, but there's some times when they play lead too. So, like, I'll give you an example. Please. I had a really hard time with breastfeeding the first. It took my first child over 2 weeks to latch, and I was less than. What kind of mama can't feed her child from the boob? I just tore myself up, and it was like crippling for me. And this is all in my head, because the best way a baby receives food is just to receive food, whether it's a bottle, a breast, this formula. You know, that's what's most important. But I couldn't wrap that around my head the first time. So in the hospital back in June, I was feeling like Riley was struggling with it too. And there was these two little old lactation ladies that kept coming in. They were like, must do this, and you must do this, and you must do. And he could see the anxiety creeping back up for me. And so he advocated for me with these women. He's like, look, we've been down here. She know what to do. She gonna catch on. It's stressing her out. And just the way that he stepped up to advocate for me, even in the hospital, like, those are moments where they play a lead role too. Kind of just recognizing and trying to step in and see what your partner needs. I have a client whose wife is about to deliver twins any day now.
Wow.
And her mom is coming, and he's worried about it being a stressful environment. They have a big gap in their relationship, the mom and the woman. And I told him, I was like, you're going to have to know how to step in. Don't wait for her to tell you. Don't wait for it to get bad. You will now be her biggest advocate, because she's about to go through a monumental change, especially giving birth to two babies. And it's going to be on you to step in and be like, hey, mom, take a chill pill. Hey, mom, let us try this. Let her do this first before you step in and interject and all that. So I literally just gave him this advice. And that's where men play more of a part. You know, you don't just sit back and wait. You step up.
Step up. I love that. Step up and you know, provide that safe space for you. And like, you know, I don't, as women, you don't want to feel like, oh, I got to take care of the baby. I have to speak up for us. I have to keep the house clean. I have to, you know, finances. I'm not working. So just knowing that I could just sit here and rock on the chair with the baby while he'll handle it. This time I could be quiet this time. So it's hard for us to be quiet. We don't ever want to shut up. But that time I was like, go ahead. You go ahead. You go talk.
It's also so hard. And I learned this the first time. My way ain't always the right way. And I used to have
I'm still learning
that. I used to have a lot of static sometimes because, you know, he ain't prepared this way and he didn't wash it that way and he did this before he did that. And I was like, you're doing it wrong. And I have a really good friend. I have a podcast too. She's my podcast partner. And she was like, is he doing it wrong? Or is he just not doing it your way? And I was like, ton of bricks. You right? It got done. Maybe not the way I wanted it, but it did get done. And that taught me a huge lesson to let go of trying to have so much control all the time. So I definitely, you know, a lot of women won't leave the baby initially with just the dad, but I'm like, bro, you gotta figure it out. I try to make sure he is set up for a win, lay all the duckies out, and then I go have a brunch or go to the park or go to Target or something like that, because I can't do it all. And I the first time around I felt like, oh, I gotta clean all the stuff. That's
what your experience with your husband. Do you feel like in men it affects them more like in the physical aspect, like because they're the ones running, working and providing, you know, the breadwinner at the moment, or a mental, or a combination of both?
I think I think a combination of both. And I'll tell you why, because when someone has to take the primary lead for a minute, I mean, you're on. You can't slip. You feel like you can't mess up. You feel like you got to carry it all. And I'm sure that pressure plays to the mental part too. So yeah, they someone was saying it's the man's job to protect, and they feel helpless in childbirth. And I know they feel helpless because you can't, you know, you're like, what do I do? But I'm sure that all stresses the male person out too. Like they can't, because men are fixers by nature, right? And when you see your woman or your wife in mesh panties and big old pads and can't walk after the C-section and struggling to get out of the bed, that's hard. I'm sure that's really hard for them. That's really hard. That was a humbling experience to be in panties and a freaking bed pad wrapped around you. Ooh, humbling.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the many women who are doing this on their own. For the single mothers who plague our communities. I'm hearing all of these stories. I'm reading everything in the chat from all the people detailing all their stories, and it's beautiful to have a counterpart or partner to help you balance it out, even if there is a struggle in figuring it out. How do you relinquish control, whatever. But for the women who are doing this on their own, when the father is not present, I will be remiss if I didn't even mention that, to say shout out to the strength that exists in you guys.
Man, amen to that. Like, women are phenomenal, period. Like, be able to house life and bring life about. And God bless the woman that don't have someone who get up with her at night to help prepare food, or someone there so she can take a break. Like, I be feeling like the strength of this nation is on women who do it solo. Like, when you start thinking about some of the more poignant people or pivotal people that may have come from single mother situation, they have dynamically shaped this nation that we live in. They shape the Black community. They shape so much. And you're right, it would be remiss not to mention the strength of the woman And God bless the one who stands in and does it without assistance. Because
I've
it is
also,
for the faint of heart.
I've also heard of some women say, I am in a relationship or I am in a marriage. It's the two of us, but I still feel like a single mom. I can imagine that's also so difficult because you have the person physically there, but mentally, emotionally, you're doing everything and carrying the weight on your own. That must also be hard. And I would like for you to touch also on the pressure that comes after giving birth, right? Because it's like, you want to be a great mom, you want to lose weight, you want to get back to work. Like, how do you even, where do you even begin? It's like, okay, I know I have to focus on dealing with this new human, but I also look in the mirror and I want to work out. I also want to go back to work or bring some type of income to the house. So what advice do you have for a first-time mom? Like, what can you focus on? Or is there something they can do prior to that? Maybe work on their mental health throughout their pregnancy, start therapy even before conceiving, all of those extra tools.
Working on your mental health throughout any phase of where you're in life is so pivotal. I think that before you enter any new season, if you know you're about to enter it, it is wise to prep your mind as much as you can, right? And that could come in the form of talking to other moms. That could come in the form of reading books, watching YouTube, looking at movies, any of that. But the journey of working on self, I feel, is very pivotal in any season that you're in, with or without a child, with or without a partner, with or without a new job. I advocate heavily for therapy. You know, most people enter therapy when something's wrong, but it's like the contrary. You should always be working on keeping your emotions in check, intact and sharp, and working on emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. So yes, all of that can be very helpful if you're going into a first time season of being about to bring a life into the world. I also think community is really important. I don't believe God put us on this earth to do things by ourselves. That's why he created two people, and these two people made more people, right? So of course the gift from above of resource is to find someone. If you're in a season of postpartum depression, I guarantee you there's so many other women going through it too. And it's hard sometimes to make that first step. But support comes in the form of groups, a Facebook group, an online group, a meetup group. Support comes in the form of shooting a text message out. Support comes in the form of letting a mom know, or just even calling a crisis line yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, God in the situation to go through it by ourselves. And it's hard sometimes, but community and the resource and tools of being able to connect is there. Also, just having, I hate this term. I love it, I hate it. I love it, I hate it, love it, I hate it. Having grace for yourself. I struggle with that because grace can, I'm gonna get so much slack for this. Grace can be a slippery slope though, right? If you try to give yourself so much grace, so much grace, so much grace to the point where you're not doing anything for improvement, then are you making yourself, right? Like, oh, I'm just gonna give myself a pass, a pass, a pass, a pass. I believe that grace is really implemented when you know you may be struggling somewhere and you have given 1000% and it still didn't turn about. And it's not crapping on yourself, but still being like, I showed up. It didn't turn out what I want, but I showed up. Because my clients will tell you I struggle with the word try, because try is a slippery slope as well. When you say, I tried, you want a pass when it didn't get done, and you want a pat on the back when it did get done. But trying is also like, I could, or, you know, and I still want the pass. So that's where I struggle with the term grace, because it's such a love-hate. You grace yourself into a crutch sometimes, right? So I'm still working hard for myself right now, especially in the weight loss department. Like I said, fitness has always been an outlet for me, and where I'm struggling in this fitness department, That's where I'm trying to find the grace. And the fact that I don't get a lot of sleep, and the fact that I'm still working, and the fact that I'm trying to take on other endeavors in life, and I'm trying to leave a big old imprint, and it's just not enough time. So then I'm trying to find that grace.
Mm, mm.
Yes.
It's an ongoing thing. It's not
Yep.
just the directly after birth or the first couple of weeks. This is a process that goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, I've received so much in this conversation, in this hour alone, so much. One of the biggest things that I received was how intentional not only I need to be, but I want to remind people they need to be in terms of forming relationships, forming that bond. Even before the child kind of gets there, the whole date night thing, choosing your woman, learning how to get along with the woman, having patience before all the extra pressure kind of gets there. Learning how do we do conflict resolution, how do we kind of just figure that thing out. So when we are in a position of when the child comes and other things come into place, we're already prepared. We've done some groundwork. So for me, it's about being intentional, even during the very, very early stages, from the dating and selection, and has brought me on a crazy journey. So thank you for that.
Yes. I want to note, Kimberly was saying that there's a lot of support groups out there like Mocha Mom, Postpartum International Moms Club, and there are. And you can find yourself discreetly joining them. Like, you don't have to tell your besties and your mama if you're worried. Those things are out there. The intentional work. Like I said, it's important to work on yourself through all seasons of life. One thing that I've learned 2 times over now going through this journey is you still don't be prepared. There that come down the pipeline that just flip it on its head for you. And I think that patience in navigating new seasons is very important. If you've never been there before, how would you know what to do? You can read all the books, you can talk to all the people, but your situation is going to be very specific to you. And so I think we get frustrated with ourselves. I'm talking about me too. When you don't figure it out on the first go, or you mess up, or you fed the baby too much milk, now she projectile vomited, you know, and you're like, oh, I killed the baby. But you've never done this before. You've never done it before. So remembering that when you enter new seasons, you just continue to move your feet and you're going to continue to go forward. Is that grace? That's grace, right?
That sounds like grace. That sounds like grace.
Grace.
Also, too, I would say, right, adding boundaries, right? Especially in our community. I feel like first-time moms, you know, you have your mom in your ear, your grandma, your elders, like, no, do it this way. No, feed the kid this way. Dress that way. Talk a little bit, touch on that, on the boundaries part. Like, how important that is to, like, listen, I get it. You're trying to help, you're trying to support, but let me do this. Let me try it. You know, it's my first time. Let me be.
Man, you know, I like boundaries. I like being able to speak your mind and tell people, hey, back up, man. I think boundaries are very important. What you will learn, and I sure hope I don't turn up to be this grandma someday. The ladies in the past will tell you, oh, it went like when I did. Oh, you shouldn't do it like that. And I think unsolicited advice from the elders, it's going to come down the pipeline anyway. That's where boundaries come to play. Like, look, I need to try it my way. Or, you know, we were told that we were raising the baby by the book. Well, you know, things have evolved since the 80s. That's what the books are for. They tell you, you don't have to mix K-roll syrup anymore for a 2-month-old. You should put the baby back in that stomach. Like, that's what books are for, right? So, yeah, you're going to get the unsolicited advice. So it's important to be able to tell the folks, you know what, let me try it this way. Or we went to a class and they were encouraging that we do it this way. And that's the beautiful thing about evolution. We have saved a lot of babies' lives learning we shouldn't do like we did in the 70s and the 80s. So,
they risked it all.
Well, they didn't know. They rolled us around in the car with no seatbelts. You know, seatbelts weren't even a thing.
Not a thing. It's like,
they laid the
put that baby down. Just put that baby down.
Yes. So that's why it is important to be able to speak up, because things have changed and evolved, and you know, I went through the little class and I want to try it this way because the lady said the back is best. So yeah, well, I haven't always been like this. I call myself a recovering people pleaser because it was a hard thing for me in the past.
I love that term, covering people.
I do, but I ain't got no problem with that now. You know, I ain't got no problem with that now. And I have definitely, my sister will attest to this, and she's on here. I have been like, look, you ain't doing enough. I need more help. And she,
Right.
oh, I'm sorry. And she did more. Like, you know, I'm sure it's not always comfortable. It was hard for me. It was uncomfortable for her, but she received it. She stepped up. And it's reciprocal. If she tells me she needs something, I'm going to be there for her too. It's just when you learn that you need something, the strength of advocating for yourself is just being able to vocalize that.
She said, and you did. LOL.
I did.
Shout out to sisters, right? My sister's on too. I'd be like, or any little thing, I'm like, I need to call my sister. I need to call my sister. No, what you're doing. I need you right now.
I did it with my mom too. I did it with my mom. I had a conversation with Marquise. Like, I just have learned over the years, it's best. Somebody said it best. Uncomfortable conversations make for comfortable relationships. It's best to navigate through it so we can get through it and get to the point where it's going to exist better. And it ain't always going to be smooth and easy. Hearing that you ain't doing something is a hard truth to hear sometimes. I went out to dinner with 2 friends last week for somebody's birthday, and they were like, "You've been a lackluster friend." And I was like, "I have." And I'm going to do better. It is what it is. You know, like, I feel like, you know, people shy away from the discomfort of hard conversations, hard situations and all that. And I'm like, God never promised us that life was going to be easy. Right. I just promised us that he would never leave us and forsake us. So he's going to be with us through the hard times, but it ain't supposed to be easy breezy, rainbows and roses. You have to have a storm to get to the rainbow. So there's going to be difficult times and difficult conversations and difficult things that you have to navigate through to get to the rainbow on the other side.
That's beautiful. Oh, so what I get is there are no rule books. There are, you kind of, sometimes you make it up as you go along. And sometimes you have to do what just works for you.
Being a parent is on-the-job training, man.
On-the-job training. Like,
you know how you read the manual for something and it did completely opposite of what you read.
That's fair.
I think in this conversation made us all more prepared. I know literally made me more prepared in terms of, I'm not a father yet, but in terms of just shaping my relationship, in terms of what's kind of look for, in terms of the amount of patience. And I know I'm going to keep on learning. And like you said, sometimes you're never prepared until you're right there. So I think you helped us all. You definitely helped me in this. Much love to you.
Also, thank you everyone in the comments just agreeing with you. I think, yeah, you helped everyone and provided that safe space. Like, listen, you're not alone. We all go through it. There's no perfect parent out there. You said there's no manual, and you could read all the books, talk to all the people, but everyone's journey is different. Just know it's different, but you all go through the same struggles.
You know, I tell my clients, I don't walk in your shoes, but if you're wearing flip-flops, I'm wearing slides. Meaning we have similar stories, you know, you have similar situations, you have similar feelings, similar, all of that. So, yeah.
I like that. We always end our show with just gratitude. In terms of we've talked about gratitude from so many different points. I see you said gratitude to Marquise, to your sister, to your mom, but just one thought of gratitude, something you're grateful for in this moment right now.
I'm grateful for a platform like this. I have the ability to connect with people. I'm really big on community and connectivity, and I'm grateful that Kayla jumped on my Black Women series last year.
I hope you're again.
And thought to reach out to me for this. Like, it's like a web of connectivity. And so now I've met you, and the people here have met me. And so it's just, I'm grateful for the ability to build new relationships on something like this. And I'm grateful for you, Sherelle.
Yes, I'm grateful for Jamie. Absolutely. Kayla, in this moment, what are you grateful for right now, girl?
I am grateful for stepping out on faith and not fear, because fear has held us back for so long. And if we were still operating from that space of fear, we wouldn't be here right now. We wouldn't be on this live and speaking to the people, especially, I always say this, for our community. It's needed. They need to see people who look like us, our people. So I'm just really grateful for bravery and, and just to be here and using our voices and showing up and just showing them that it is real and it is okay. We're here.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. I'm grateful for my growing network. I'm grateful for people who are just being introduced in my life in the most miraculous way, from this conversation, the conversations I was having earlier this week. And that's what it's about. The sense of community is your network. Your net worth is your your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. And basically my network is growing as well as my net worth. Amen. So I'm just grateful for the connection right now. So real quick, tell them where they can find you and what you got going on real quick.
And your podcast. You mentioned you had a podcast, so shout out that.
So I'm Jamie Miles Haynes. I'm a licensed therapist here in Georgia. I am currently on the BetterHelp.com platform. I'm on Instagram here. Is it at the top? Yeah. They can see it. I mean, I'll say JAMICHMILES, JA Mitch Miles. And the podcast is called The Melanin Perspective. Ooh. I do it with a colleague that I used to work at a mental health hospital with. Her name is Brittany. She's a marriage and family therapist, and I am a licensed professional counselor. And we talk about things from our perspective. And, we took a little 2-year hiatus, but we about to record tomorrow.
That's what I'm talking about, you see?
But we're on the Apple platforms, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that. The Melanin Perspective.
The Melanin Perspective.
Yes. I'm gonna have to fly out to ATL. You guys are all out there. We gotta get together, do brunch or something, record a live episode.
You come on and escape that snow,
girl. I am like just close to jumping on a flight.
Yo, shout out to everyone who's in the chat, real quick. Yo, Kayla, if you could just send hearts to everyone, real quick. Wave and send hearts to everybody in the chat. Give them some love. Give them some love. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Whether you're seeing this live or you're seeing this on the replay, we appreciate you in the most beautiful way. And this podcast was created to just share our perspective. And this is more of a reason why we need each other. Amen. We need each other in more ways than one. And I'm grateful for you being on here. Thank you so much.
Every single like, every single comment, every single share is appreciated. Jamie, girl, you are so special. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. This won't be the last time. You will be back.
All right.
Together in person. We'll be recording a live episode in person.
Yeah.
But
yes, we will.
Really grateful for you, and thank you for using your voice and just being so open and honest with us. We really appreciate it. And the people appreciate it. A lot of these comments were beautiful. Everybody's like, yep, I can relate. I can relate. I can relate.
Amen.
This was
amazing. Amen. And to my lovely co-host, Kayla, I want to give a shout out to you right now in this moment. You're awesome. You're dope. High five.
Likewise.
High five. And we love you guys, and see you next time.
Until next time. Bye-bye.